Dang. YouTube just kicked me out of the live stream for some reason. I have no idea why. It just says that your live stream is ending in 10 seconds. And it just kind of like, um, it just had a countdown. And I was like, whoa, what did I do? It's not like I say bad words on YouTube or say anything provocative. So I'm not sure why live stream ended unless somebody reported me or something. But, don't really say anything about that's controversial. But anyway, have you guys seen that before? I don't know. I've never seen that before. We have to create a new one. So sorry about that. I know the private community group is still in here. Yeah, sorry about that. I just made a new live stream link, and hopefully it doesn't kick me out again. And should be good now. But anyway, if you're just tuning in, sorry about that. Or if you're just continuing the live stream from before. I just kind of got rid of that video, but I was answering a question about if you can do a backdoor Roth IRA. So what I was explaining here was that I'll just get right to it. So in the traditional IRA, you can actually have pre-tax and mix with after-tax. Okay, so pre-tax and after-tax together. Now, the problem is when you have money together like that, it becomes a pro rata issue because when you move money from traditional IRA to Roth, there we go. Roth IRA like that. When you move money in there, the IRS looks at this and say, now you have two things in there. You got $1,000 in pre-tax money. Let's say that was the rollover from like the traditional 401k that you had before. And then you put $1,000 into your Roth IRA not Roth IRA, into the traditional IRA in after-tax money. Now the pro rata calculation comes on, right? So now you have 50% in after-tax money and you have 50% in pre-tax money that the IRS has not collected yet. So when you move $1,000 over to a Roth IRA, half of that, $500, is going to be taxed as an ordinary income tax. You don't want to do that because you don't want to. Why would you want to pay additional taxes when this is supposed to be an after-tax money? But since you have pre-tax money sitting in there, now the pro rata calculation says 50% pre-tax, 50% after tax. So that $500 when you move it over to the Roth IRA becomes an taxable event. So if you're at a marginal tax rate of I don't know, we'll just call it 24%, right? So now you're going to owe $120 in federal income tax, and that doesn't even include a state income tax. Another 5% of state income tax, that's going to be another $25. So imagine having $7,000, that's going to be even more. So that's why you want to be careful and make sure when you do a backdoor Roth IRA, you do not have a mix of pre-tax and after-tax money. So let me zoom out just a little bit. So what do I do with this pre-tax money that's sitting in a traditional IRA? You can move this over to your traditional TSP, 401k, or 403b, or 457. Any of those employer-sponsored retirement account, you can actually move it back. Let's say $1,000 back to the TSP, 401k, 403b, or 457. Just make sure that they will accept money from the IRA. I know TSP does. I know my clients have done it. 401k, 403b, 457, it will depend on who you have. So that $1,000, you can move it back. And this pro rata rule will disappear when you have $0 in pre-tax money. I hope that makes sense. Okay. And you just move it back. And the other way is you can move this $1,000 into after-tax. No, I'm sorry, into Roth IRA over here. So, but that becomes a taxable event. So again, if you want to move that pre-tax money into Roth, you can put it all together, but you have to keep this in mind. You would still have to pay taxes on the $1,000 conversion. So hopefully that didn't complicate anything, but when you go back and look at the watch one of my videos about the back to a Roth IRA. I gave a pretty good example and a pretty good breakdown of what it would look like. Okay, so you put money in there, checking account to a traditional IRA. Let's say all $7,000 in there. Okay, but you have $50,000 in pre-tax money because you roll that over from your traditional 401k to an IRA. Now you have after-tax contribution of $7,000. Okay, now, when you move $7,000 over to a Roth IRA, again, it triggers that pro rata rule, right? Then you have a total of $57,000 in the traditional IRA. So 50,000 in pre-tax money and $7,000 in after-tax money. So how you want to calculate this is when you convert 7,000 divided by 57,000, 12.3% of that is considered non-taxable income. 12.3% of your traditional IRA is sitting in after-tax money. However, the other $50,000 is in pre-tax money. So 87.7% of it is in pre-tax or taxable income. So when you convert it, that's $7,000 multiplied by 87%, $6,139 of that $7,000 conversion is considered taxable income, but the other $861 is not taxable. Okay. So if you're in a 24% marginal tax rate, that's $1,400 that you will have to pay in taxes, in just the federal income tax. And then if you're in a 32% marginal tax rate, you have to pay almost $2,000. So again, in order for you to avoid that, move it over to a 401k, 403b, 457, or TSP. Or you could, if you want to, and this is going to create more tax bill, is moving $50,000 into the Roth IRA if you're in a low income year or something like that. So that, just keep that in mind. Hopefully I answered that question. Yeah, again, sorry about the live stream being cut out. YouTube just sent out a message saying that your live stream is ending in 10 seconds. I'm like, what? What is going on? But anyway, okay, next question. Oh, one of my staff is telling me that I had a question from the previous live stream. Somebody cut out about the 529. Yeah, so if you have a 529 college savings plan for your kids, the Secure Act 2.0 actually passed something that is going to be really beneficial for you and for your kids, really. So if your kids end up not going to college, you can actually, or maybe not needing that 529 fund to pay for their college, you can actually move that 529 over to their Roth IRA, but you have to meet certain rules, like 15 years have to be passed and no contributions within the last 5 years. So you could move that 529 over to your kids' Roth IRA after they're done with college. But the other rule is that your kid has to work too and make a minimum income of whatever that Roth IRA contribution limit will be in the future. So using the $7,000 contribution limit in 2025, you could move $7,000 over to your kid's Roth IRA if your kid is working and you've had your 529 open for at least 15 years and you have no contributions in the last 5 years, can be rolled over to the Roth IRA. And what was the other thing? The maximum lifetime limit is $35,000. So you could do 7,000 this year, 7,000 next year, and then do it for 5 years and roll that over to your kid's Roth IRA. So that would be incredible if if you can. That's kind of like a way to give, I guess, if you have the money to do so. Like 529 can be like pretty complicated, but at the same time, a lot of parents decided not to do the 529 because they're like, well, I don't know if my kid's going to end up going to college and then that money is just going to sit there. I don't know what to do. That's one way to do it. Just put it, you can move it to your kid's Roth IRA, or the 529. That's an account that you're going to own for the rest of your life, but you can always change the beneficiary to anyone in your family tree. So like you can even give it to your wife, or you can give it to your husband. You can give it to your cousin, your mother-in-law, if you like her. And if I'm just kidding. And if you can transfer it to anyone in your family tree. It can be an in-law, right? And so let's say if my daughter is done, she's 13 now, and when she's done with college, and then if I still have money left over in the 529, I'm gonna move it over to her Roth IRA until I hit that $35,000 maximum limit. Then whatever I have left in the 529, I will change the beneficiary and maybe give it to my grandkids in the future, or I can give it to my nephew or my niece or my wife's niece, or whoever, right? Or if my uncle wants to go back to college at the age of 60, who knows, right? But those are the options that you have. But just take a look at it. I do have a video on the Roth IRA to 529 on my channel. It's broken down pretty good, but take a look at it. That's a good question too. That is a Roth IRA related question. So okay, so good question. I'm making $140,000 in 2025, but I haven't put money in my Roth IRA yet because I am not sure if my income will be higher than the income limits. Can I just wait, or do I need to put money in my Roth IRA now? You do not need to put money in the Roth IRA now. This is one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is they just put money into the Roth IRA and they end up being over the income limits for 2025. If you're kind of hovering over that, like you're single, you're making between 150,000 and 165,000, it's okay to wait until next year in 2026. So I'm going to make sure that I don't confuse anybody. 401k, you have to contribute between January 1st and December 31st. Okay. Same thing with TSP, 403b, 457. Roth IRA, on the other hand, you have between January 1st and April 15th in the following year in 2026, which is the tax deadline to put money into your IRA. So even if you're doing a backdoor conversion with the traditional IRA, like I explained earlier, you can wait until January, February, March, or April to max out your Roth IRA or do your backdoor Roth IRA. So you have time. For those of you who are kind of like in the income phase out range, I always recommend just kind of waiting until the following year to put money into the 2025. So when you log into, let's say, Fidelity Roth IRA or Vanguard Roth IRA, just log in on January 1st, 2026, because you're going to see a bucket that says 2025 and you're going to see another bucket that says 2026. What you want to do between January and April next year in 2026 is to max out your 2025 Roth IRA. And then during that year in 2026, work on maxing out your 2026 one. Because after April 15th, that 2025 Roth IRA is going to be gone. You cannot go back and put $7,000 into the Roth IRA. It's going to be whatever the contribution limit is going to be in 2026. If I had to guess, it's going to be $7,500. So just keep that in mind. You can always wait until the following year because you don't want to call the broker and try to what's called recharacterize your Roth IRA contribution. So you will have to pull money out and then put it in the traditional IRA and then put it into the Roth IRA. It's just extra work that you don't need, right? If you feel like you're going to miss out on the stock market returns and all that, trust me, you want to do it this way so that it doesn't create more headache where you have to sell anyway, or move it over to the traditional IRA and then back to the Roth IRA. It's just a pain in the butt. So good question though, if you have that kind of lingering over the head. So okay, awesome. Yeah. Oh, let me go back to the YouTube real quick. Heck yeah, 529 for your kid. Yep, that's awesome. Well done. And just keep that Roth IRA 529, the Roth IRA rule in mind when you contribute. And remember, you can always change the beneficiary. And the other thing is 529 belongs to the state. So depending on where you live, you want to make sure that you follow whatever the contribution limit or the plan rules in that state. Like if you're in New Mexico, make sure you follow New Mexico's rule. I'm in Nevada. I'm going to follow Nevada's 529 plan rules and all that stuff. So in some states, you can deduct your state income tax. You cannot deduct your federal income tax. So anyway, enough about the 529. Let's see. Oh, investment question. So I have Vanguard S&P 500 in my 401k and QQQ in my Roth IRA. Is that the right move? Or should I put S&P 500 in my Roth IRA? So I cannot answer all those specific investment questions, right? Especially on the YouTube live chat. That's probably why they should kick me out for that if I did that, because it would be unfair for me to answer that question without knowing your entire financial situation. So when it comes to how you want to structure your 401k or Roth IRA investments, people think about the returns, the risks and all that stuff. The big picture question I want you to think about is, how much do you want your retirement to be exposed to the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the Russell 2000, the international stock index funds? Like, how do you want your portfolio to be exposed to, right? If you put 100% into, say, crypto, right? Now you're going to face that crypto volatility. 100% into your retirement going into the crypto is probably not a good idea because it is highly volatile. Now, if S&P 500, you can always kind of go back and look at the track record, but we don't know what the future is going to hold. So when you think about how much you want to put into the S&P 500 versus QQQ or Russell or whatever, the international stocks, you want to think about, do I want to expose my portfolio just, the 401k alone, or maybe if I have S&P 500 in every single portfolio, but I want to diversify a little bit, but I have a smaller amount in this account versus the other account. You can do however you want, but you just kind of want to look at your overall allocation strategy as a person instead of a single portfolio in the 401k versus Roth IRA and all that. But, just to me, and I'm just kind of like having a conversation with you guys is, I've always managed my retirement accounts as more like, I'm going to stick to the index funds and ETFs so that they can grow and that they're more predictable, right? If I'm going to play with individual stocks, crypto and stuff like that, I always keep those out of my retirement and I put those more on my like taxable brokerage account. If I do options trading, I actually like options trading and all that. It's fun, but I don't teach that on the channel because I don't want people to think that this is a gambling channel, right? It is gambling. I don't care what anybody says. Options trading, it is gambling. But I wouldn't put that, not that you can anyway with the Roth IRA or 401k. I would stick to those highly volatile stocks. I have individual stocks. I have ETFs that have done really, really well. I have an individual stock that has done like over 200% in the last year. And I'm like, man, like, did I know that was going to happen? No, but it just happened, right? I mean, think about all the NVIDIA investors and think about all the ex-NVIDIA employees who had their 401k in there. And then later on, they realized that, holy cow, we got like this much money in my 401k. Congrats to them. It just happens that way. But when it comes to individual stocks, you always want to make sure that you do your due diligence, do your research. Those are very, very risky, right? If you put all your money in the same basket, in the single basket, that's not something that anybody would recommend that you do. And I've always diversify between S&P, growth, value, dividends, all that stuff. Okay, but good question though. For the backdoor Roth IRA, if I have $0 in my Vanguard traditional IRA, but $10,000 in my Fidelity rollover IRA, is my backdoor still going to be taxed, or is it just one brokerage with zero? Oh, good question. This is a common question too. Hey, I have, let's say Schwab IRA, and I have $0 in my traditional IRA, and I have money in the Roth IRA, and I want to backdoor it, but I have zero in my Schwab, but let's say I have $10,000 with the Vanguard rollover IRA. Am I still going to be pro rata by the IRS? Yes, you would. You would still get pro rata. It doesn't matter how if you're with the same broker, different broker. If you have any pre-existing or pre-tax money, rollover IRA, SEP IRA, simple IRA, and pre-tax money, that is going to be counted against your pro rata rule. Okay. When you file your taxes, they're going to ask you what your traditional IRA balance was at the end of 2025. So that's where people are going they're going to ask, the IRS is going to ask, like, this is how much money you had, and this is how much money you have to pay taxes. If you rewind about 20 minutes ago, I went through all of that. So just take a look. But yes, it doesn't matter how many brokers you have. Even if it's in a different broker, you're still going to be taxed on the backdoor conversion. So good question. Okay. Why do you wait until step 6 to max out your Roth IRA? Can I not do my emergency fund and Roth IRA at the same time? I'm about 3 months away from maxing out my emergency fund. Okay, so step 6 of my fire checklist is let me see, this one. So it is talk about step 5. Step 5, maxing out your emergency fund and then do your HSA and Roth IRA after. If you can do, if you feel like you can do it, go for it, right? I'm not stopping you, but then I do see more success when people focus on one step at a time. So when you go on step 5 to max out your emergency fund, and let's say you're trying to get to the 6 months, I think that's what you said. No, you're 3 months away from maxing it out. Focus on that because you still have time to max out your HSA and Roth IRA. I'm not going to talk about HSA today, but HSA also has the same contribution period. You have until April 15th, 2026 to max out your HSA and Roth IRA. So if you need the next 3 months, September, October, November, to max out your emergency fund, that's what I would do. And then keep going and then max out your HSA and Roth IRA. Here's the thing. A lot of people do succeed when they finish one step at a time, calculating their fire number, rainy day fund, employer match, paying off their debt, emergency fund. When I paid off my debt back in 2015, in 2016, it took me almost 7 months to max out my emergency fund. But I was only contributing 8% to my 401k that I worked for in the private sector back then. And I got that 4% employer match, but I just focused on my emergency fund for 6 months. Then towards the second half of the year, I just maxed out my Roth IRA. I didn't have an HSA at the time, but just maxed out my Roth IRA. And then I got to the 25% savings rate, and then I maxed out my retirement accounts. You don't want to tie up all of your money into investments. I know that the market has been on the climb, like almost 70% return in the last 3 years. It's been incredible, right? People have that FOMO feeling of, oh, what if I don't put money now? I'm going to lose out on the gains. I get it, but cash, I always say this in almost every video when I talk about this, cash is the cushion between you and everything else. If everything else goes to poop, you lose your job, something happens to your house. My house flooded 2 years ago after coming home from a vacation because the toilet bowl just cracked in the middle. It just flooded the entire bottom floor. Cost me 5 figures to pay for all the damages and everything. My homeowner's insurance covered most of it. But those are the things that you cannot predict. Emergency fund is for you. It's to prevent you from getting back into debt again. I am not back in debt. I haven't been back in debt since 2015 because I've always had a fully funded emergency fund. I've always had 6 months of expenses. My wife and I both work, right? If I lose my business today, my wife she still has an income to pay the bills. However, it's probably not going to be enough to pay for some of the expenses. And that's where the emergency fund comes in. And that's the most important thing. I want you to think of yourself as, just think about it this way. Are you going to sleep on the floor every single night? Or are you going to have a mattress between you and the floor, right? Think of that mattress as that cash reserve. Think of that mattress as your emergency fund, okay? I would not feel good to sleep on the floor. I did that in Iraq and Afghanistan. I don't want to do that again, right? I want to have a mattress because knowing that emergency fund exists helps me sleep at night, every single night. Because I know if something happens to the house, something happens to me in the car, something happens to me medically, or something happens to this business, I have my cash reserve to fall back on. And it's okay to hold off on your Roth IRA until you have that cash cushion. Maybe you're comfortable with 4 months. That's okay too. Once you meet that goal, one step at a time, you finish your emergency fund, then focus on the next one on Roth IRA. Okay. Cash is always king. I don't care what anybody says about how inflation is, inflation that, but when you experience those emergency situations, that cash is going to be the king to solve a lot of things. All right. And man, I hope you guys don't have to experience any flood in a house, but it's such a pain. Oh, good question. I tried looking for a spousal Roth IRA. You're not going to find that. It's not going to say spousal Roth IRA on any broker. Yes, you can open it for your wife, your husband. So when you open it up, you just basically open it under your wife's name. Okay. You just put your wife's name, social security, and all that stuff. It doesn't say spousal Roth IRA. It just says a Roth IRA. You just open it. It's in the eyes of the IRS, they do see it as a spousal Roth IRA if your spouse does not work. So this is another thing that most American households do not do because they don't know. In this case, your husband, I'm guessing you're the husband, you work and your wife doesn't. For a stay-at-home wife or mom, you still get to open up a Roth IRA and contribute to it. If you're a stay-at-home husband or a stay-at-home dad, you can still contribute to your Roth IRA as long as both of you file your taxes jointly. Has to be married filing jointly to open up a spousal Roth IRA because your income is combined, right? So if you make $100,000 a year and the wife makes $100,000 a year and the husband doesn't make anything, you can still contribute $7,000 each to the wife and the husband, and you can open up a extra Roth IRA for your husband or wife, whoever, and the IRS will see that as a spousal Roth IRA because you guys are filing your taxes together. So I hope that makes sense. That's a really good question that a lot of American households do not do, is putting money into their stay-home wife or stay-home dad, whoever, and put money into the Roth IRA. As long as you guys file your taxes together, yeah, you can put money up to $14,000 if you're under the age of 50, or $16,000 if you're both over the age of 50. So, but your accounts have to be separate. You cannot combine your Roth IRAs. That's the other common question I get. Per the IRS rules, you have to separate your retirement accounts. So one spouse has one, husband has one, and then the wife has one. And you have $7,000 each going in there, or $8,000 each if you're over the age of 50. So, great question. Okay. Yeah, I saw that. Okay. I'll talk about that in a second. Man, that's a good question, Michael. How closely should your personal investment strategy align with your spouse's? My wife and I have a financial meeting once a month. We don't, other than that, we just kind of like talk about what we spend on, all that stuff. We don't give each other permission to spend money. We don't. We don't need to. We're not in debt. We're debt free, right? And we just talk about it at the end of each month. So what is it, September right now? So next week on the 30th, we're going to talk about how we're saving money, how we're investing our money, and how we're spending our money for the month of October. Her birthday is coming up in October. So we talk about how much money we're going to spend on the restaurant in October. And we talk about how much money we want to reallocate to our entertainment fund, the travel fund. And we got some big travel coming up next year. I'll tell you guys, we're going on a European cruise next year. That money we need to put away into the travel fund. So every single month we sit down and go over what we're going to do in the following month. And then about once or probably twice a year, at the beginning of the year and then at the end of the year, we just talk about what our investment strategies are going to be. So we just had that conversation last night. So it's really funny that Michael brought this up because we sat down and went over our 401k, our Roth IRAs and HSAs. And I have an HSA, she has an HSA. I have a Roth IRA, she has a Roth IRA. And so we kind of look at what she's invested in. Let's say she puts, I know she puts money in her in the QQQ. She has some other ETFs, and I have S&P 500. I have some other, mutual funds that she may not have. So when we look at our overall portfolio, and then we just say, this looks good, that looks good, this investment is doing okay, kind of thing. But we also want to look at our entire portfolio allocation and say, how much of our money is in this mutual fund? How much of our money is in this ETF? Or do we have any exposure in real estate? Do we have any exposure into small cap kind of thing? Those are the conversations that we have. We haven't had any disagreements about our asset allocation, but our strategies do align because we do want to be aggressive, and because we want to focus on growth so that we have the possibility to retire by 50, right? 50, 55. We're absolutely done at 55. We're not, I'm probably going to sell my business at 55, and that's 16 years from now. I'm 39 now. She's going to be 39. So, we're probably going to have more conversations about that in the future. But that strategic alignment, it's really about education. Like if you and your spouse completely understand how the stock market works, what the bond market is doing, and how how to allocate our cash, it becomes very simple. And you guys don't, people who fight about money is because and people who really just kind of separate their finances, in my opinion, it's a form of avoidance. It's kind of like, I don't want to deal with my spouse with the finances. I don't want to fight with her or fight with him or whatnot. We have been successful because we combined our finances the day we got married. The day we got married. We've been married for, holy cow, 4 years. Okay, 4 years this year, in 2 months. And we've combined our finances ever since. We knew where our money was going. It didn't matter how much money we made. It didn't matter how much more money she made or whoever, right? All of our money, our income was coming into a single joint checking account. And then from there, she and I are the co-CEOs of this household, and we make decisions together. Spending, saving, investing. Are we going to max out our 401k this year? Yes. Are we going to max out our Roth IRAs and HSAs? Absolutely. And how much of our money is going to be allocated to the travel fund for next year? Here we go. This is the money, right? An emergency fund. Is it healthy? We look at it. Yes. That's how we kind of reassess all of our finances and just kind of go from there. So hopefully I answered your question, but if your spouse is not on the same page, just continue that conversation. Just don't hammer it. I'm a nerd, right? I can sit down and talk to her about the stock market fundamentals. I can talk to her about, what's going on with the economy and all that. She's not really into all the stock market as much as I am, but she understands the importance of having a 401k, IRAs and HSA. She understands how compound interest works. We talk about all that. Hey, this month we had this much in gain, kind of thing. But if your spouse is not as interested, you don't have to hammer it to her head, or and just slowly bring up, hey, this is what I've been doing, and check this out, and maybe try to impress her with some of the investment returns that you had, right? But hopefully I answered that question. Yeah, I saw the government shutdown next week. Is that a sure thing? Are they really shutting it down, or is Congress fighting again, mom and dad? They're always fighting about something. Let me see. Government shutdown. Okay. Trump canceled meeting with top Democrats as government shutdown looms. Senate rejects competing bills to fund government. Senate, who? The Democrats? Senate Democrats? Okay. I thought the Republicans were in, weren't they in control of the Senate? That's interesting. Okay, so somebody must have I'm guessing this is another short-term bill, right? If I have to guess, I haven't read that yet, but it looks like they're having a disagreement about how long they should fund the government for. And wow, yeah, maybe they will let it shut down for a little bit. Yeah, if you're a military member, I was in the Air Force for 20 years, and when I went through that shutdown in 2012, 2013 over Obamacare, I didn't get a paycheck for like a month and a half, and that sucked. And I was a staff sergeant E5 at the time, and the nice thing was I had USAA at the time, and if you have Navy Federal too, they'll match your paychecks from before and kind of as a loan, and then they kind of when you get that money back when you get that paychecks again, just take that money out. So that was really nice for veterans. As far as federal employees, I don't think you guys will get it unless you're a veteran. Just have that emergency fund, like she said, or Robin said. Yeah, need that mattress. You just never know. Unemployment, any car accident, and all that. I always advocate for an emergency fund, and people don't listen. A lot of people don't listen about, like, if you look at my comment section, they'll be like, oh, emergency fund is dumb and you're going to lose the inflation. You shouldn't just invest that entire emergency fund. Use your credit card as an emergency fund. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me, right? Man. But yeah, just that sucks. That sucks. Hopefully it's not going to be a long shutdown for you guys. I'll read into it. Maybe I'll make a video about that. Is it about healthcare? I'm guessing, because I know they were advocating. The Democrats were advocating for healthcare. Yeah, I'll have to look into this. I know, I did a bunch of videos on the federal employee pension plan. So all the first stuff that happened for the big beautiful bill just turned out to be like nothing happened. They just took everything away from the bill. I mean, it was good news and everything, but it's just so dramatic. The negotiations between the House and the Senate, and if you look at what happened between all the amendments, if it's so hard to find too. I don't know if they do this on purpose, but it is so hard to find congressional like bills, House legislation, all that stuff. It's like it's so hard to navigate. Maybe they do it on purpose. I don't know, but so much drama in Congress. I just feel like maybe they could just get on the same page. And I'm guessing this is a continuing resolutions, right? Yeah, I see that. Okay. Ooh, September 30th. I'm guessing you got a week. We'll see. I don't know, but anyway, I went over time by 10 minutes because my live stream got cut out at the beginning. YouTube kicked me out of the live stream. I wonder if somebody reported me, or I never say any bad words on the live stream or any of my videos, and I don't say anything controversial in my videos. So maybe I just had a hater. I don't know, but YouTube just said we are ending your live stream in 10 seconds. I was like, oh man, I gotta I gotta restart it, and I still don't know what happened. But yeah, really appreciate you guys being here. Next week I'm gonna be live streaming again on Wednesday to talk about what you're gonna do with the cash management when interest rates start to go down. And the other one, the Q&A live stream I'm gonna have kind of like this. It's gonna be about the HSA. So answering your HSA questions. I know it's not as common. I'm kind of debating if I want to do HSA. I'll talk to my team about this, but it's either that or I'll talk about the TSP a little more, TSP, 401k, and all that stuff too. But I really appreciate you guys being here. But I will be back next week, and stay tuned for more videos. All right. Have a good one.